Hi guys, this is Wolf here, and we're gonna be experimenting with a podcast. This is me, and Marcus is here as well.
Yeah, hey guys. This is like basically just like a test run because we figured that probably if you could listen to us and stuff, that might be entertaining as well. So yeah,
But we've run into a problem almost immediately in the fact that we don't actually have a name. So if you can come up with a clever name for us, we'd really appreciate it. And if you post in the comments and we see something we like, we'll give you credit, and we might end up using that. So yeah,
yeah. If
uh,
you have any clever name, then just put it in the put it in the comments, and we go through them. And if you have any questions too, but we should come to that later, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. Most of you might already know, but if you don't, Marcus and I have been working on a project called Eggy Emporium. It's named Eggy Emporium because it was named after Executor, the Pokemon, which I used in 2012 with some success. And our goal was kind of just to provide information and to be able to put out our thoughts into the community and get information to people that wouldn't be there before, such as foreign information.
Yeah, we had a lot of translations from like Japanese teams and stuff like that, but we also obviously put up our own teams that we use in like nationals and world championships. So yeah, you probably looked into these, but if you haven't, you should definitely check them out.
But you might have noticed recently that the content has kind of slowed down. I know that both Marcus and I have been very busy, and yeah, I think we ran into some other problems as well. But I am glad to say that in the future we're going to try and start Eggy Emporium up, and it will be hopefully bigger and better this time. And so I know that the content has been rather slow, but we are all working now again to get it up and running. And if you have anything you'd like to see it, we always like hearing feedback, so just let us know.
Yeah, so now that the world championships are over, where Wolf placed ninth and I placed 14th, which was like kind of okay, I guess. That's
Yeah,
like it's like pretty good.
I
You
guess I
don't
don't
think
know.
so?
Yeah, I mean it's fine. Like I'm not complaining. I'm very glad I just got to play, but I think Worlds could have played out differently.
Yeah, but okay, for you it's like your only your third best result, is that correct?
Yeah, that's my second worst result.
Yeah, you had like to introduce yourself, like I don't know, maybe people are listening to this who don't know anything
Okay, okay.
about competitive Pokemon at all.
Yeah, so my name is Wolf Glick. I am the 2011 and 2012 national champion and the 2012 world runner-up. In 2011, I placed sixth at the Worlds. In 2012, I placed, I think, 24th, very close there, if not 24th. I can't remember. And this year, I placed ninth. I got through the LCQ after not qualifying. And Marcus,
Yeah, I'm Marcus Stetter from Germany, apparently, as you can probably tell from my accent. I'm the 2014 German national champion, and I placed 14th at Worlds this year. I already qualified for Worlds in 2012, where I got second place at French nationals and came in 19th place.
yeah, so we've played in Worlds before, and I know it kind of might sound stuck up to say that like ninth and 14th that's only okay because I don't know, like there's plenty of people who would be very impressed with
Yeah,
that, but I just know that I personally could have done a lot better. Um,
yeah,
yeah,
that's what I said. Like, it wasn't a complete disaster. Like, we
no,
both went 4-2, so that's fine.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, speaking of Worlds, since we've gotten the introduction out of the way, would you like to talk about the tournament itself?
Yeah, the Worlds tournament, obviously, in case you should not know, is like happening annually in like some cool city. It was this year in Washington D.C., and Pokemon players from all around the world came there to enjoy their favorite game. And our game of choice is obviously the Pokemon video game, and the tournament had like 60 participants, I think,
Yeah,
and we played 6 rounds of Swiss best of three, and after that it was like a top eight cut. So Wolfie barely missed out on that, and there was like top eight cut with best of three single elimination, and obviously Sejun Park from Korea came out ahead of that, which was pretty cool to see.
absolutely. I think Sage is a player who, I don't know, his consistency is kind of insane when you think about it, and I think he definitely deserved to win. I think out of everybody in the top cut, Sage was probably the one who deserved to win the most.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he literally top cut worlds every single time since Korea even has tournaments. So
Yeah, so he's a very impressive player, and I don't know, I consider him a friend of mine. And I'm very glad to see him do so well, and that was really nice.
yeah,
Um,
that was like so good, and he seemed so happy.
he was so happy.
Yes, that was very very good to see.
If you are a big fan of Sage Park, you can join in the new trend where you get a Pachirisu plushie. Pachirisu is a signature Pokemon, and you can take a picture of it in some location near you, preferably something famous, and you can send that picture to him. So that's the new trend that's going around.
Oh,
But
I haven't heard about it, but I'll definitely check that
you
out.
should look into it, yeah. But yeah,
Sounds
about Worlds as a tournament, though, I think it's worth talking about just kind of the structure. Marcus and I both, I think, have written about it and about some of the problems we had with it. But I think it might be better to talk about it here as well in case you haven't heard, or in case you're interested, or in case you don't feel like reading the
hmm
11,000 words I wrote. Um, yeah,
you should though. You should read them
yeah, you
though.
probably should read it. I mean, I recommend it. But yeah, so like Marcus said, the Worlds is 6 rounds with a top 8 cut with about 60 people. And so what that means is that one person's going to go undefeated and make the top cut. Normally 4 to 5 are going to go five wins, 1 loss, and they're going to make the cut. And then the last 3 or 4 slots or 2 slots are given to people who have 4 wins, 2 losses, and it's basically whoever's opponents do the best. Um, and those people move on to the top cut. But what doesn't really make sense to me is the fact that like because Pokemon is a luck based game, you're basically saying that it is probably inevitable that sometime you will lose to somebody who isn't as good as you just through luck. Like there's a good chance, especially if your skill levels are close. Um, and also like I don't know, you can win games and lose games on information because like Marcus, I think we'll talk a little bit about his match against Ryosuke, but I think that the format of having only being allowed 1 loss can be very good with teams that are kind of gimmicky and have surprises. And sometimes like those surprises work, and sometimes you don't really want them in top cut because they're not that good. They just happen to surprise people and take wins that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Pachirisu was already pretty gimmicky,
Yes.
so yeah, it worked out pretty well for Sejong. Yeah, as for my loss in the first round against Ryosuke, who then went on 6-0 undefeated in Swiss, but was still like far not enough for me to like I lost to him and to Wolfie. So I lost to the first place and the ninth place in the Swiss round. But I was only 14th place because my other opponents didn't do too well. So in my games against him, it was like first round, and it's like always pretty difficult to level your opponent, as in you want to know how good they are and how deep their predictions and their thought process goes. So I was not sure. Like obviously he's like world's runner up, but some people said some of his wins just came from using swagger on stuff. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's true, but so anyway, I did not know about what his team really does, and it turned out that his Mawile was like insanely fast, so he could use it under Tailwind to outspeed a lot of stuff. And I totally did not expect it to outspeed my Garchomp in Tailwind, and that's basically why I lost the series. So I don't know, like had I played him in like a later round, with him playing against someone I know probably, since obviously there was like quite a lot of Germans in the tournament, but also other friends from all around the world, and they just could have told me that his mobile was like built fast and frail. Then I don't know, like I could have just played differently and yeah, adapted to that, but obviously I didn't know, and so I lost, which was a little bit unfortunate, but yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what Wolfie said, like meant what he when he said like it's easy to just lose one series in Pokemon.
Yeah, and I think that it's kind of interesting to have a top 8 cut because like it's such a small percentage of the players, and when you consider like if you are the second best player in the tournament, let's say you play the best player in the tournament, and let's assume just for the sake of the example that you lose because like let's say that Pokemon sometimes is decided on skill level. So if you're not so like okay, if you were in like a normal tournament, you'd hope that like the best player in the tournament would be the first seed, the second best player would be the second seed, or something like that, or they'd both be there. But if you're not, if you're anything other than the best player in the tournament, like um, if you play the best player in the tournament and you lose, that means you only have room for one more loss. And if because Pokemon is a luck based game, it kind of seems strange that like in a tournament with so many good players to limit it not only to only 8, but just like matchups play such a big role. Like for example, I was ninth place, and I think in part like my opponents that I played, despite me losing the first round, none of my opponents that I beat, except for one of them, lost another game. They all won out after playing me, which is like interesting to me. And so my final opponent score was only one of my opponents lost 1 game, 4 of my opponents lost 2 games, but the last one only won 1 game. So we went 1-5, and because of that, my resistance was kind of lower. And it just seems kind of, I don't know. I understand that Pokemon is a luck-based game, and of course, like that's just kind of a fact. But I think that like the best players like Ray and Seijun have ways to like manage the luck. They don't take unnecessary chances, and that's why they're consistent. But you can't really do anything in your playing or in your team building to like figure out a better way of who you get matched up with. So regardless of how good your team is or how much you try to control luck, there are certain elements that are random in Pokemon and the tournament structure that probably shouldn't be random or should be less influential. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I know like the idea behind Swiss is actually to have like all people obviously like play more games, but it also like gets the second best player, even if he loses to the best player, still get to the top and so on and so on. But I don't think that really works in Pokemon. Like I know Swiss from chess, and there it's like very good because chess is obviously only skill based game. But in Pokemon, as Wolfie said, you have like matchups and like certain luck elements. So I'm not sure if it like works that well, and I honestly I don't think a cut to like let only people advance that are 5 wins and 1 loss is like the right way to do. So my idea to change that would be to either have like a top 16 cut to ensure that all players who go 4 wins and 2 losses, but have like if you go 0 wins and 2 losses in the first 2 rounds, you obviously get easier opponents, and that way you wouldn't be in the top 16. But if you go like I don't know, like just win loss win win loss win, I don't know, then you would be guaranteed to cut. But or like the other idea would be to have 7 rounds or to have enough players so that you have 7 rounds, because then you can like still fix 1 loss by going 5 wins and 2 losses, and I don't know, that just would seem more fair to me.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. There's a couple other problems in the world that I hope will eventually be fixed. For example, I know Marcus and I both found the fact that we couldn't listen to music, not to music, but to the in-game music with headphones, a little unfortunate because it's very, very hard when there are people all around you who are talking and being disruptive to really focus on your match. And having headphones in to let you listen to the music is very beneficial in helping you focus. But the fact of the matter is that they won't let you listen to music, and that is
Yeah,
rather unfortunate because it kind of, I don't know, like I think there are certain factors, like the fact that we didn't have a lunch break, that that really can make a difference in performance. Um, and so basically, when you have people playing on muscle memory or something like it, where they're so hungry, where they haven't eaten in hours and hours and hours, and they can't focus because they can't listen to music and because there's an announcer and everyone's shouting, it seems like less likely that the better player will win. And I think that if we're trying to move the game forward, we should be trying to work towards a situation in which the better player wins more often.
yeah, definitely, I agree on that. As for the headphone situation, I'm not really sure who came up with that, because in like Germany nationals, I was allowed to listen to music. I was allowed to do so in UK nationals and in Italy nationals. So I was like very used to it, and like not only to the point where like think it's like good to listen to music, but to the point where I could only concentrate if I was listening to the music. And then a judge came up to me in like my first round, which was very intense because I played against Ryosuke, who was like the world's runner-up from last year, and like very good Japanese player, you know. So you want to focus all the time, and then he just came up to me and was like, "No, you can't listen to music." I mean, it makes sense, obviously, not to allow people to be able to listen to like music from their phone or anything, because they could, in theory, have informations on that or someone telling them what to do or whatever, really. But I don't really get why they wouldn't allow you to listen to the in-game music.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so those are some of the problems that we've had with the Worlds format. I'm sure there are other ones, and then there are a lot of good things that we've come a long way with for the Worlds format. So I don't know. I just hope that in the future we can move towards a better structure. Um, but would you like to talk about now kind of our teams and our thoughts from the
Yeah,
tournament,
yeah,
like from the
definitely.
actual Pokemon standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, you talked a lot about how it is important to like minimize the odds of bad luck happening against
Yes.
you. So yeah, what was your approach to handle that, or how did you do that?
Well, for me, I figured that it's not really worth losing a game on a miss as if you can avoid it. So I did two things to kind of mitigate that, and the fact that I played my team in a way that I wouldn't have to use moves that didn't have high accuracy unless I had to. So for example, I had play rough on my Mawile, but in most situations I would try to play the game into the situation where I would be able to KO with Iron Head or with another attack, so that I
Hmm.
wouldn't need to rely on Play Rough, because Play Rough only has 90% accuracy, and so that's a pretty decent chance of missing. And when the stakes are so high, you don't really want to take those chances, because if your opponent is taking those chances and you're not, the odds are that your opponent will get the bad luck before you do. So I generally try to play pretty safe. I also tried to I built my team in a way that I wouldn't have to take unnecessary chances. I think I only had 3 moves that weren't 100% accuracy, and they were Snarl, which was 95%, Draco Meteor, which is 90%, and Play Rough, which is 90%. And so, for example, I use moves like Scald instead of Hydro Pump, because I didn't want to miss. Because if you miss an attack, you basically lose an entire turn. Not necessarily a turn, but you lose a lot of your momentum that you might have. And for example, in situations where Fire Blast versus Ferrothorn, right? If you miss Fire Blast on a Ferrothorn and it KOs your fire Pokemon, your fire attacker, which in my case was Hydreigon, you basically can lose the game right on that turn. So I ran Flamethrower instead of that, because I figured, even though 2 out of 3, I guess the theory used to be, or is maybe, that with more matches the luck kind of evens out. I still don't like to be reliant at all on moves that can miss.
Yes, sounds reasonable. And then you obviously also had Gothitelle. Like, what did that do for your team?
Yes. So Gothitelle for me was kind of at nationals. I was very frustrated because I went 6-3, which I thought was way below my caliber, or not caliber, but my capabilities. I thought I could have done a lot better, and I really thought my team was very good. And I looked at my losses, and I kind of decided that a lot of the reasons I'd lost was from over prediction. Like I would say, okay, my opponent has to do this, because if they don't, they'll lose. But my opponent was thinking in a different mindset than I was, and so it didn't really make sense for them to do what I thought they would do. And so the thing about Gothitelle is that, for one thing, it lets you play very good field control, and that's the way I like to play, with multiple Intimidates and Snarl and Encore on my team. You can check out my team on Eggy Emporium. But I think the thing about Gothitelle for me was that, because your opponent couldn't switch, as soon as your opponent protected, then you could just double up into them. You could just use both your Pokemon to attack them, and they couldn't do anything about it except go for a double protect, which some of my opponents got. But for the most part, I don't know, it let you just take easy kills without having to predict as much, and I thought that was very important. Yes,
Yes, and it like definitely worked out, So
yes. Um, but
yeah,
maybe we'd like to talk about a little the kind of the difference in our theories at the moment between whether or not it's relevant to use creative Pokemon, whether or not it's good to use creative Pokemon, or if it's better just to use the best Pokemon.
okay.
Because yeah, well, you can give your position and then I'll give mine.
Yeah, okay. Like the team I brought to Worlds was like Rotom Wash, Garchomp, Mega Mawile, Salamence, Gengar, and Mega Kangaskhan. And it's like very standardish Pokemon, maybe except for Gengar. But after my success at German nationals, and after like a lot of Japanese players really like used it for decent success, people know what it does and so on. So it's not that creative anymore. So basically, what my team did is that I like the theory that in Pokemon you can win on like sheer predictions and like sheer playing. And I probably do not account for the fact that teams play a very important roles and like a very important role in that too, because like I would never or like almost never be in like a matchup where I was like, okay, like this is an auto win, like he can't do anything against that and that, like it's just one. But for your team, I mean those situations like exist because some people just like if they didn't prepare for like say Mawile under Trick Room with Heal Pulse Gothitelle, then they just lose.
Yes.
Um,
Sorry.
yeah, sure. Like that is like not going to happen with my team because what I did was like run pretty fast mons, but that it can also like tank 1 or 2 hits, and then I would just try to figure out the right mons I need to bring for a matchup, and then always bring the same 4 guys because like whenever I lose, I try to figure out where I lost on playing and not on team.
Yes.
So I would try to like play better instead of like adjust better with my team, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you thought that it wasn't really worthwhile to use creative Pokemon, right? Because the better Pokemon were just better.
Yeah, and we also like there was like not only a rumor, but we had like some proof that Pokemon thought about publishing teams of the players in Worlds during the tournament. You actually got your team published,
I did.
after you got through LCQ. like, didn't that affect your like thinking about the way your team works?
Yes, unfortunately, and I think it also affected some of my matchups. Going into a match where you have no information, when your opponent has in theory everything, was very very bad.
Yeah, and
And
then
I think it played a role in one of my losses.
yeah,
Um,
but you also did not know whether they knew or not, you know?
yes, which was
Like,
even more dangerous
yes.
because it would be one thing if I knew they knew, and that way I could adjust my playing accordingly. But the fact that I didn't know whether or not they looked online was just very very bad. And I think it made a difference actually. Um, I don't know, and I don't really see the point of them publishing the teams. I guess the theory was that if we wanted to, we could change our teams, but we got out of the last chance qualifier at 11 p.m. or maybe around 10 p.m., 10:30. But I didn't get home until 11 p.m., and that meant I had to be back at Worlds around 8 maybe, and so I didn't have another team prepared. And so I don't know. I think that that was very very much not. I guess I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter to them whether or not like any individual player gets through. Like I don't see why it would matter like whether they care whether or not the players in the last chance qualifier do well. But if they did, I don't see why it would why it would
Yeah.
be acceptable at all because it was really detrimental.
Yeah.
The other people in the last chance qualifier, I know Ben Rothman who got through finished last place in the tournament. Um, and
Blake finished 4-2.
for no, did he?
Yeah, he
Oh yeah
was
yeah yeah.
like,
Oh
I think
okay yeah,
he played Sagen for a top cut in the last round.
that's right.
So
Yeah
he did very well.
yes he did well. I don't know, but I just think that sometimes the decisions that are made aren't necessarily the ones that benefit the players the most.
Yeah.
And yeah, so my philosophy in terms of teams, I think that the team I used was very good for the last chance qualifier and relatively average for Worlds. I really would have liked to use something more creative. I had a couple ideas, but in the end, I didn't think it was worthwhile building a team because if I didn't get through the last chance qualifier, um, then I would just be regretful because I wouldn't have known if I'd used the other team whether I could do it or not. So yeah, I do feel like I maybe should have brought a different team to Worlds because although the team I used was very very much effective, it wasn't that creative. And I think that a big part of why I struggled so much at Worlds, I had a lot of very close games. A lot of my games went to three games instead of just winning or losing 2-0. And I think that um, it was partially because I didn't really have any element of surprise until my opponents could pretty much eyeball my team and they could probably figure out what it was going to do. And because of that, I didn't have that advantage against my opponents because oftentimes I ran into things I wasn't expecting, such as Swords Dance, Talonflame, Quick Guard, Talonflame, Sash Bisharp, etc., Chestnut. And because of that, yeah, I feel like I was perpetually at a disadvantage. And even though I was able to pull out a lot of my games through good playing and through gathering information, it was very exhausting. And by the end, I was just exhausted and I couldn't play well anymore. And that was really unfortunate. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Just going one step back. You said like it probably affected your team or your playing that your team was on the website of Pokemon.com.
Yes.
Yeah, for me and my philosophy, like I wouldn't have minded if they put up my team even during the tournament, because there I just like did not run any surprises like almost at all. Like
Yes.
my EV spreads in some of the months were pretty good, I think, but they weren't displayed, so I didn't mind them. Like had they put it up, yeah, I probably just didn't care. So that's how I built my team. That even
Yes.
if my opponent had like perfect information, like for example, imagine that you play some guy round one, and then you play their friend in round two, and then the friend of this friend in round three, and then they
Yeah.
all know your team all the time, and like yeah, but I just didn't care whether they knew or not.
Yeah.
And
Your
I think also like with the way how my team acted and how like I focused more on playing, like I almost had a perfect record for going 4-2. Like all my losses were 1 win, 2 losses, and 3 out of my 4 wins were 2 wins and 0 losses. So yeah, I had like a little bit more time to like um I don't know, like refocus or get some food while Wolfie was always playing, basically.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that takes a big toll on you. I think the fact that I often had like 5 minutes in between rounds definitely added up. But that's okay. Um,
Yeah, and for you, it was like it's not like you like for me, I was like pretty much guaranteed not to top cut after the third round, but you were always in the running, and then it just added up, and then in like the really last round is where you lost your second time. So
yes. Yeah, and that was unfortunate. But yeah. I don't know. I think overall, I learned a lot from this Worlds. I think we both did, and I'm definitely looking forward in the future to kind of applying what we learned.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you want to go on and like talk about the new season and the upcoming changes?
Yeah, that sounds good. But why don't you start? Because I feel like you're more equipped to talk about
Okay,
this.
so basically, just some days ago, the Pokemon, the championship points you earn from several tournaments were updated, and they actually like did not only update like some like the points you get, but also the best finish limits for Premier challenges and nationals. But I don't know if the best finish limit for nationals will come into account like at all, since it is five and we only had four events giving CP last season. But
Well, we had
anyway,
Korean nationals.
no, but they did not give championship points.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, neither did the South African and or the Australian.
okay, okay.
So they only gave out invites. But maybe they will change for a championship point
Yes.
program. So anyway, what they did is like last season, just to recap, we had 15 championship points for the winner of a Premier Challenge with a best finish limit of two, which means that you can go to as many Premier Challenges as you like, but only your best two finishes will count towards your final CP. So if you want to, you get like 30 CP from that. And in comprehension with like nationals, like that's like nothing, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
So basically, back then, last season, the championship points you get from Premier Challenges like would only come into play if there was like a tie or like almost a tie. So because they are only 30 CP. But now what they did is they changed it so that the winner of a Premier Challenges of a challenge gets 40 CP. Okay, so 40 CP. That is like a lot. Like with how the new championship points play out for nationals is, you get 50 CP for finishing in top 128, and 40 points is almost as much. But now the big change is that they changed the best finish limit from two to five. So what that means is you can go to as many Premier Challenges as you like, but your best five finishes will count towards your final CP. And now, if you happen to win five PCs, you'd end up with 200 championship points, and that is as many as you get from top 16 in nationals. So that's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know. The other thing they did for Premier Challenges is they also allow them to happen in Europe or other countries at all, basically. So Europe will also have PCs, but yeah, currently we just don't have a lot of organizers, and a lot of people in Germany or in other countries in Europe are afraid that we might not have enough PCs so that everyone can have at least five, and
Yes.
yeah, that could come into account a lot. So, what are your thoughts about them focusing on Premier Challenges a lot more next season?
I think I should say right away that I think I'm going to be biased because last season I won the two premier challenges I went to, so immediately it was like it jumped out in my mind as something that I could benefit from if I do as well this season in premier challenges as I did last.
Hmm.
But I do think it's worth noting that it's interesting. Like it makes the tournaments of regionals especially a lot less important. And I think actually now that I think about it, it might end up being a good thing. I know some people don't like it, but I think it's interesting because we complained for a while that basically if you want to be competitive, you have to go to in the U.S. at least three regionals and finish like decently if you
Uh-huh.
want to have a shot at a world's invite, unless you do very well at nationals. And so basically, I think it's interesting by making regionals slightly. They lowered the points somewhat of I think second and below at regionals while upping Premier Challenges, and so I think that's very good because Premier Challenges I think they're trying to make more local, and by doing that, I think it allows players who are very good but can't afford to go to as many regionals, which are often far away. But it allows them a better shot at actually qualifying and being able to play, which I think is actually definitely the right a step in the right direction.
Yeah,
Um,
for regionals, the points are like almost the same, just a little bit more comprehensive with like,
yes,
um, yeah. But yeah, they definitely up the Premier Challenges. And if you take a look at last year's or last season's final CP standings, we like there's people or players like John Hu or um, Logan Castro, Yellow Box, who just had like very very good nationals, but yeah, like John Who had like only one regional and like two premier challenges, and Yellow Box didn't have any results or any CP prior to nationals at all. So both of them just made it in just by a very, very good nationals. And then yeah, there were other players like I don't know, Jody Solsor, who also came in through a top eight at Nats, and yeah, like what it did was that it knocked out people like say Wesley Morioka or Zach that had like very very good regionals but very bad nationals. And I think with like how they changed the Premier Challenge CP, um, yeah, like it makes it like more easy for someone to not to have rely on nationals, you know,
Yes. I
because
don't
you
know.
can.
Sorry.
No, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, which is not necessarily a good thing because oftentimes, like players will go to easy regionals, they'll fly to easy regionals in the hope of picking up free points.
Yeah,
And I
okay.
don't know if that's like necessarily a good thing because, like, I don't know, I think you should probably have to do at least decent at nationals unless you have a really spectacular regional season, to qualify for worlds. But that's just my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. I see where you're coming from, but like being a European player, we have to like fly out to all nationals anyway.
Yes.
So, like I don't know, I probably have a different mindset going into that
Yeah.
because in like Europe, the three nationals we had last year, it was like almost always the same players, you know.
Yes.
Like the best players from Italy would come to all three, the best from Germany, the best from the UK, the best from Spain. So it's like I don't know, the concept of having like weak tournaments or tournaments where like none of the very best players attend, that just doesn't apply for Europe. So I probably
Yes.
can understand that.
Yeah, and that's fine. But yeah, so next season I think should be more interesting because Premier Challenges will end up shaking up the structure. I think. So we'll have to wait and see. And I think that maybe as more Premier Challenges are added because of their importance, hopefully, sorry, hopefully, more people will start organizing Premier Challenges, and so hopefully in Europe more people become certified. Because I think you were saying that only 5 people at the moment, or something ridiculously small,
Yeah,
are
yeah,
even
it's only
capable of
six. Yeah,
organizing.
it's only six. Actually, in case you're from Germany and do not know about the PISA board, which is the premier board for competitive VGC discussion in Germany, you should check that out because I'm doing a survey currently for and asking for people to say like where they would go for premier challenges so that we can like take that to organizers and be like, okay, so here, see that 30 people from Germany would like to have a premier challenge in Cologne. So yeah, you could easily organize one of them so that they get like certified and all that stuff. And so far we have 80 people that took place in them. So it's like in like the past day, 80 people said that they would want to attend premier challenges, which is pretty cool to me. So yeah, I definitely hope that Europe and Germany, especially because I'm from there, who will develop a lot more from only having one guy that can host Premier Challenges at the moment.
Yes, and I hope, and hopefully we can put a link in the description, or we can have information about how to become certified to host Premier Challenges.
Yes, I was actually thinking about doing like some tutorial for that in
That
German. I
that's a
could
good
easily
idea.
do that in English as well because
Yes,
it's
that
like
would be
very
very
important.
helpful.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, I was actually certified as a tournament organizer a couple months ago, and so I have like there's some inside information that I can't leak, obviously, but yeah, like I know a little bit about the process and so on. So yeah, it's for being foreign and having it like in a foreign language. It's like a little bit difficult for me to like see how the system makes sense, you know, because
Yes.
it's like okay, so you gotta apply for being a tournament organizer, and then you gotta also apply for hosting premier challenges again, which is a little bit strange, but I mean
Yes.
it makes sense. So they will see.
Oh no, that's the
No,
fire alarm. I have to leave my building.
oh my gosh. Okay, see you.
Okay, okay. Okay, yeah, guys, I'm back. Sorry, the fire alarm went off. Somebody tried to make pancakes on the stove without like a pot, so they just put pancakes on the actual stovetop, and that set off the fire alarm for some reason. But I'm back. Marcus actually had to go because the fire alarm took so long. But I'm gonna wrap this up. Like we were saying, we were just talking about Premier Challenges and how people, if you're interested in becoming an organizer for Premier Challenges, I'm going to include the link in the description. And so you are welcome to check it out, and you should apply if it interests you because it benefits a lot of players. And yeah, I think that's all we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you liked it and we get positive feedback, we'll definitely try and make more of them. If you have anything in particular you'd like to see on them, anything you liked, didn't like, just let us know. And also, if you're interested in helping out with Eggy Emporium, since we're starting back up, we're definitely going to need a lot more help. So if you're interested, just let us know, email, comment on a post, whatever. Yeah, and also we need like artists. We need there's lots of different jobs that need to be done. So if you're willing to help, if you have time is really important, then we definitely appreciate it. So just let us know. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this podcast. We'll be putting together some visual stuff for it. So I hope it's entertaining and stuff. And so yeah, until next time, I'll say goodbye from me and also from Marcus. Take care, guys.